What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be discussing schools that you should start off your dynasty with. Dynasty mode is going to be probably the number one mode that is going to be played in college football 25, and picking the right school, well, there is no wrong answer in picking which school you want to start off your dynasty with. I think it more so depends on how you want to go about your journey in dynasty mode. I think for the most part, most people will probably start off with a smaller school and build their way up as a coach, as opposed to starting off with a Georgia or an Alabama where you already have an established program and you could just pick up right where they're currently at. And I've come up with about 10 schools that I'm going to present to y'all as the schools that I think you should start off your dynasty with. And these schools are smaller schools, and you could say they're bad schools, but that's what would make building a dynasty with these schools so fun. Making like a UTEP, for example, a powerhouse in college football, and then or just building that program up and then keep moving your way up the ranks. I tried to make this list in an emphasis with the recruiting pipelines that they're kind of emphasizing. If you read the blog, they're really emphasizing the pipelines in throughout the country. So I tried to keep in mind schools that would be around these pipelines that you could tap into. There is no particularly number one school on my list that I think you should go with. These are just schools that I picked out and did research on that I think are going to be the best schools and the most fun schools to rebuild and build up a dynasty with in college football 25. The first school I have out of the 10 schools that I picked out is UTEP. UTEP have not won more than 10 games since 1988. Their most successful as of recent late has been in 2021, where they went 7-6. Since 2000, they've only made 5 bowl games and they've lost all of them. The thing with UTEP though is that they do have the Texas pipeline, and you could tap into the Central Texas, the East Texas slash Louisiana pipeline, and even the Dallas Metroplex pipeline. If there, Texas is big, and there's a lot of pipelines that you could tap into here for UTEP. Lastly, they've never been ranked in the AP poll, so they would be a good school to build up and before you keep moving on to another program, or if you just want to make UTEP into a powerhouse. The next school I have on the list is Sam Houston State. Sam Houston State has only recently made the jump up from FCS to FBS football. They joined Conference USA for the 2023 season due to realignment. In FCS, though, they were a pretty dominant FCS school, but once they moved up to FBS, they kind of hit a wall and they went 3-9 last year. But when they were in FCS, they were consistently winning 10 games, well, 9 or more games every season. But because they recently made the jump up to FBS football and joined a group of 5 conference, they don't have a lot of history. What's key about Sam Houston State is where they're located. They're located in East Texas, which is very crucial into tapping into that East Texas pipeline, Louisiana area. And that's, I'd assume, where you're going to be doing most of your recruiting from anyway. Next on the list, I have the University of Louisiana Monroe. They have never won more than 8 games in their entire existence. Their best season in program history came in 2012 when they went 8-5. They only have 1 bowl game appearance in their entire history. But what sticks out with Louisiana Monroe is that they are in Louisiana, close to the East Texas border, and again, you want to tap into that East Texas Louisiana pipeline in order to get your recruits and build your program up. They also belong to the Sun Belt Conference, but other than that, there's not a lot of great football history here at Louisiana Monroe, which most of these schools on the list don't have a lot of great history, but they're great picks to start off your dynasty with. Next on the list, I have the University of South Florida. South Florida is a relatively young-ish program. They were established in 2000, but the reason why I picked South Florida is because of their Florida pipeline. And again, Pipelines in college football 25 are going to be very important as it pertains to your recruiting. And Florida is one of those states that have a lot of pipelines, which whether it be South Florida or Middle Florida or like Upper Florida, there's a lot of pipelines in Florida, and they have a lot of talent. South Florida plays in the AAC. They had a solid start to their program, but they have recently fallen off at the end of the 2010s. South Florida also holds a record of a 7-4 bowl record. The next school I have on my list is the Kennesaw State Owls. They're a very, very young program. There's not a lot of history here. The program was founded in 2015. But the thing about Kennesaw State is that they were really, really good in FCS. But for the 2024 season, they're making the jump up to FBS football and have joined Conference USA. So we'll see if they have a repeat of what happened to Sam Houston State, or maybe they are successful like Jacksonville State did this past season. They also do have a very good pipeline. They do have access to the Atlanta Metro pipeline, so that's where you'll be doing your main recruiting if you were to go with Kennesaw State. Next program I have on my list is Kent State. Kent State only has one double-digit win season in program history, which was in 2012. Prior to 2012, their best season was in 1973. Since program inception in 1962, they've only been to 4 games, winning only one of them, which was in 2019. But the reason why I picked Kent State is that you could, again, tap into a pipeline. And I think for Kent State, you'll be tapping into the Northeast tri-state area pipeline for your recruiting. Next on the list, I have the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. If you want a program that isn't terrible and has relatively a pretty good history, I present to you the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. The Cajuns belong to the Sun Belt Conference, and they have had some really good recent history. They've been ranked in the AP poll twice in its history. Most recently when Billy Napier was the coach before he took over the Florida job. And they've been ranked twice in the college football playoff rankings. They have 6 conference championships, and they've appeared in 11 bowl games, winning 7 of them. But the reason why I picked Louisiana is because of that East Texas Louisiana recruiting pipeline. It's prime real estate right there where they're at, and you could easily build up your program and start competing with the Texas schools and LSU if you want to. Next on the list, I have the San Jose State Spartans. The Spartans belong to the Mountain West Conference. Their best season came in 2012, finishing 11-2. They finished ranked twice in the AP poll, and they've actually been ranked once in the college football playoff rankings. But what sticks out with the Spartans is that they're in California, and you could tap into that California pipeline and get those recruits as opposed to going to south of the United States to try and get your recruits, or even to Texas to get those recruits. The Spartans have made 11 bowl game appearances, winning 5 of them. Next on the list, I have the Colorado State Rams. They also belong to the Mountain West Conference. They have 17 bowl game appearances, winning 6 of them. They finished ranked in the AP poll 3 times. But the thing about Colorado State, which I was kind of hesitant putting them on this list, is that they don't necessarily have a recruiting pipeline. I'd assume for Colorado State, you'd mainly be doing your recruiting out of Texas. But we'll see. I think Colorado State would be a fun team to build up into a powerhouse. And lastly, their best season came recently in 2014, where they went 10-2. And the last school that I have on my list is the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Hawaii belongs to the Mountain West Conference, but the thing with Hawaii is that they don't necessarily have a recruiting pipeline. So I'd assume that we'd mainly be doing our recruiting out of California and kids from the islands to create our roster. But Hawaii has had 14 bowl game appearances, winning 8 of them, and their most notable bowl game that they've had was when they made an appearance in the Sugar Bowl in 2007. Their most recent successful season came in 2019, where they went 10-5. These are the 10 schools that I think you should consider when starting off your dynasty. I know that they're smaller schools and they don't have a lot of good program history, but That's what makes Dynasty good, is that, you know, we build those programs, that we make them into powerhouses, or we build them up before we take another job and keep climbing up that coaching ladder. But if you insist on using a Power 5 school to build your dynasty with, I'm still going to give you my picks very quickly. For the Pac 12, I mean, pick a school. There's only two schools left in the Pac 12. Personally, I would go with Washington State, strictly for logo purposes. I think Washington State has a very cool logo, and also very good colors. For the Big 12, I have Houston or UCF to build up your dynasty with. With Houston, you have that East Texas, Louisiana recruiting pipeline that's going to be crucial. And with UCF, you have those Florida pipelines that you could tap into. And for the Big Ten, I have Rutgers, just so you could tap into that Northeast tri-state area pipeline. For the SEC, I have South Carolina as a Power 5 program that you should pick. And for the ACC, there's a lot of schools that are very good options to start off your dynasty if you're insisting in starting with a Power 5 school. And I think those schools are either Cal, SMU, or Georgia Tech. I would personally probably go with Georgia Tech, though, just so you have that Atlanta recruiting pipeline and you're in the dead middle of the ACC and the SEC. Well, those are my 10 schools that I think you should start your dynasty with, and even Power 5 schools that I would consider if you want to start off your dynasty with a Power 5 school. But if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button as I look to grow this channel through football season and beyond. Till next time, hook 'em.